Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Nelson, could you elaborate a little bit more about your concerns with voice calls on airplanes?
Yes, we have incredible concerns with voice calls on airplanes. We have concerns in many ways. First and foremost, our members are charged with keeping order in the cabin, and more we are having to de-escalate conflict. We are concerned about the conflict that this will increase as people are having to listen to very loud business meetings or conversations with new boyfriends or girlfriends or relationships that are ending. Whatever those conversations may be, people don't want to hear it in the space of the cabin where they are closer together than they've ever been before. But even more so, we have a concern with security. And if terrorists are able to communicate in real time through voice communications, Richard Reed's bomb likely would have gone off. Flight attendants would not have been able to thwart that effort. If we have voice calls allowed in the cabin, we will not be able to see those who are intending to use this for ill purposes. They will not stand out. They will blend in. And so for those reasons, we're adamantly opposed, and we're also opposed, we believe, because we also are often the strongest advocates for the passengers in our care, and they are unanimously opposed to voice calls in the cabin.
Yeah, I believe you just addressed a question about pilots, but what can be done from a policy standpoint to encourage more young people to pursue aviation careers?
I think, from an aviation career standpoint, a lot of it's just awareness for young people to be aware of what the opportunities are in the aviation community. I know there's a lot of focus on pilots, but we also operate an MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul operation, and from a technician standpoint, trained aircraft mechanics, it's a very short supply as well, just because of lack of familiarity of the opportunities there for young people to get into those career fields. Certainly from a pilot standpoint, the investment is significantly greater than you would have for a mechanic, for example. So anything that could be done to facilitate the funding of those certainly would be a long-term benefit.
And Ms. Nelson, I saw a story recently about, I think this actually happened several years ago, but it was highlighting airline employees intervening in human trafficking. There was a young girl who, I believe, passed a note in the bathroom and found out she was being harassed or trafficked. Can you explain more about the progress of enhanced training required by our 2016 bill to help flight attendants detect human trafficking?
Yeah, I'd like to thank this committee very much for taking up that issue and mandating training for flight attendants to recognize and report human trafficking. The only issue is that there was not a process to implement that training or specific requirements about what would be contained in that training. And so we are working with our airlines to implement those programs to the highest standards possible, hopefully aligning with the Blue Lightning initiative of DHS and DOT. And we are a little bit concerned that this is not moving as quickly as it should. We've heard from flight attendants over the years that they have seen something that just doesn't look right or thought about it after the flight but didn't know what to do at the time. So everyone needs to understand how to recognize it, what to do, how to report it, and how to get it to the proper authorities so that we can stop human trafficking in our skies.
Yeah, I've got one final question, I guess, more for the airline companies, but I live in a rural district where what commercial airline service we got is essential air service, and I get complaints from my constituents on the quality of that service. So what can we do to get more twin-engine turboprops would be an improvement in some of these airports, or even jet service through the essential air service program?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do, quite candidly, with the economics and that type of stuff. I mentioned earlier that the best thing for us is to make sure we've got a very strong, ample supply of aviation professionals. I think reassuring the confidence with manufacturers, airplane manufacturers and that, so that they continue to move technology in the right direction is a great thing. And more importantly, speak out to your carrier. I don't know which exactly location you're meeting with, but there's a lot of great opportunities that are being left behind today throughout the United States relative to essential air service, great communities that deserve outstanding support. But some of the things that we've talked about in my previous written and oral testimony, I think are very key elements to help us resolve that. Enhancing safety to making sure that we've got an RATP, make sure there's an awareness, like was discussed, about how good the aviation community is. We need more diversity within it. And then we need some loan programs for pilots that helps them get to a very lucrative career, what's out there today. All of that stuff will come back to small communities, but we've got to get a granular, more confidence in the regional airline side to make sure that we get the right aviation professionals in there to help even have that conversation.
Thank you.